Big story that we are tracking right now. Tahawwur Rana, the mastermind of the horrendous 26/11 terror attack that took 166 lives, is set to now be in India anytime. In fact, he is set to land very shortly to India, where of course he will then be whisked by the National Intelligence Agency or the NIA. Let's first quickly now get to the big questions that I will now be posing on to our guests this evening as to what does this mean, why this could mean a possible closure as far as victims are concerned, and is this one step closer to closure for the victims? Is this a clear message to the anti-India elements that are also in the US? Remember, this is not just about India, this is about a global message. Next up, the next key question is, will this also, what next as far as Tahawwur Rana is concerned? What does this mean? Remember, there's an entire process that needs to be followed. What that will be, I will quickly now put that to the guests joining me. But most importantly, will this also boost the India-US intel sharing? Remember, there's also David Headley, who's not here. He's in the US. Remember, this didn't happen in one day. There was a meticulous planning that went behind it. Can India-US now have better intel partnership and collaborations to take this forward? We'll get that as well. Let's first get in Saurabh, who's joining me live from outside Kama Hospital to talk more about the horrendous terror attack, but more importantly, the fact, as I said, the questions that I'm posing, Saurabh, one step closer for the victims of 26/11 to get the closure that they need 16 years later.
Absolutely. And for Mumbaikars, for those who've lost their loved ones, for those who witnessed the terror attacks up close and personal, it is a moment of somber reconciliation with the fact that at least some of these perpetrators who till now have not faced justice in Indian courts are being brought to justice in an Indian court under Indian law in India. Where I am is a very significant place when it comes to the 26/11 terror attacks. This is the lane the terrorists used after causing mayhem at the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj terminus, earlier known as the VT terminus. And then, of course, right here in this vicinity is where they shot down 3 officers of the Mumbai police, Ashok Kamte, Hemant Karkare, and of course Vijay Salaskar. Hemant Karkare at that time was the chief of the anti-terror squad, and all of them gave their lives, laid down their lives fighting for Mumbai, fighting to save Mumbai right here in this lane. And also you have Sadanand Date, who's the current DG of the NIA, who heads the NIA, who played a critical role. The Kama Hospital is right behind me. There's an entry from here. And he took on the terrorists there. He suffered injuries. He won a presidential medal for his services, bravery that night. So there are countless stories of bravery, of sacrifice, of valor, that even these terrorists who attacked Mumbai had to face the valor, the courage, the bravery of these officers who would defend their city with every bit of strength they had in their body. And that's what happened. But obviously, perpetrators like Zakir Rahman Lakhvi, Hafiz Saeed have all had safe havens in Pakistan. In fact, David Coleman Headley, in a deposition in an Indian court, which I covered a few years ago, laid bare the role of Tahawwur Rana. And of course, Tahawwur Rana, and of course, his whole support to David Coleman Headley while he was conducting the reconnaissance, figuring out targets, and doing all of the stuff that went into the 26/11 attacks eventually when it happened in Mumbai. So this is an extremely, extremely important point. 3 officers of the Mumbai police were gunned down here, and this remains one of the most crucial points in that attack. This happened early during the attacks. Remember, the attacks were a siege over 3 days. This happened on the night of the 26th when Kasab and his associate hijacked the police car here, then drove down the lane and were eventually again caught by a Mumbai police constable, Tukaram Ombole, who showed great courage in taking him down. So obviously for all these stories of valor, sacrifice, and for Sadanand Date himself, who was fighting these terrorists in this very lane, this will be a moment of reckoning to see at least one of these perpetrators facing justice in India.
Indeed, Saurabh, that's really what the goal is all along, isn't it? I want to now get in Mohammed Ghazali, who's joining us live outside the NIA headquarters, where Tahawwur Rana will be taken to after he lands in New Delhi. It is expected, Ghazali, that it could be in the next 30 to 40 minutes that Tahawwur Rana could land in India, in Delhi.
Yeah, what we're being told that he may land at around 7 p.m. Is what the authorities are telling us, and after once he lands at the Palam airport, he will be brought here at the NIA office, sorry, and he will undergo the medical test and all, and perhaps to save time, the authorities may produce him in front of the magistrate through video conferencing, but this is all tentative plan. We are still not sure about the time of the landing. But the bigger challenge, Gaurie, will be to get the truth out of Tahawwur Rana, because Tahawwur Rana is not somebody who is a first-time offender or has been involved in an attack like the Mumbai terror attack. He is supposed to be the mastermind of the terror attack. He is the one who visited Mumbai before the attacks, and not just Mumbai but different locations in the country. The NIA dossier on David Coleman Headley, another co-conspirator of the Mumbai attack, who also happens to be the childhood friend, his school-time friend with Tahawwur Rana. They both visited different cities here in India, and perhaps they were planning to execute more terror attacks. So who were their local handlers? Who gave them all the logistical support? Who are the people he met during his stay in Mumbai? He went to Cochin, he went to Ahmedabad, he went to other locations in UP as well. So that will be something which NIA will try to sort of extract from him during the interrogation. But Tahawwur Rana, as I was saying, is a hardened criminal, is what the US media have been reporting about, that he is also suffering from multiple diseases. So the challenge for NIA would be to get those details out of him, because he's not going to face the interrogation here for the first time, but he has also been investigated and interrogated by the US agencies for different crimes altogether. So he's somebody who has gone through this process, and agencies also feel that he may try to mislead the agencies once they interrogate him. So we'll have to see that once he lands, who is going to fight for, who is going to represent him in the legally, who will be his lawyer, and what kind of legal support he gets, and also what the agencies will get out of him, because the involvement of Pakistan has been established through multiple evidences. India has been talking about that how ISI, Pak Army and the entire establishment knew about the attack. So this is something which will only solidify India's allegation against Pakistan, that how Pakistan not engages or sort of pushes non-state actors to sort of vitiate the atmosphere in India and push terror on Indian
absolutely
soil.
Saurabh Ghazali, thank you so much for joining me today. Rolling coverage of this continues. Appreciate both of you joining me today on India Global. I'm going to slip into a break, come back and talk more on this, because as I said, those questions need to be answered, and that's exactly what we'll do. We'll take this story forward after this break. Stay with us. Rana's run has indeed ended, and with that, the wait for the 26/11 survivors and also the victims as well. But what happens now, more importantly, is this now a template for New India, when it will now ensure that justice as far as terrorism activities, terrorist attacks are concerned, will be met no matter how long it takes. AP Singh, former director of the CBI, will be with me, but let me first get across to Ankur Chawla, who's a survivor of that horrendous attack, and we'll also get Glenn Carle, former Deputy National Intelligence Officer for Transnational Threats of the CIA. Ankur, let me start by asking you, it's a somber moment, but also a very difficult moment, I understand, for you. You're reliving the trauma, but at the same time, are you having a certain sense of closure that I spoke about earlier, which is that the mastermind of the 26/11 terror plot is now going to face justice in India?
Well, thank you for having me. No, of course, like you rightly mentioned, and I was, listening about this entire report, obviously closely following it. It's surely a step, closer to, let's say, the entire closure. We are surely, I've been in touch with a lot of my friends from the past. These kind of incidences is when you sort of go back and, your memory sort of runs back to the incidences which happen and takes you to the flashbacks of, the incidents. But yeah, I mean, it definitely gives you a sort of satisfaction that yes, it might be delayed a lot, but it's not forgotten. It's also a great statement, I think, coming, to the universe or to the world, saying that, we haven't really forgotten it and we would not let it go very easily. So that way, it is a somber moment for sure. It is surely, a step closer. But, somewhere or the other, to be very honest, it also feels that 16 and a half years later, we are saying we are one step closer, which sort of, doesn't give you as much, if I may, happiness that it could have been, done earlier. But I think great work for that matter that, things are still progressing and we have not really forgotten it.
Glenn, comment on the fact that this did happen, the extradition. Of course, the legal proceedings have been going on for a while. Rana was exercising all the legal options available to him. But this year, when Prime Minister Modi and President Trump met, it sort of sealed Rana's fate, didn't it? And what's the message here? How should we be now viewing this important development from a larger point of India's fight against terror?
Well, it's a symbolic act and one that certainly will bring some satisfaction or at least relief, maybe, to India and to Indians. But I think it really is a symbolic one. I'm not certain that Trump had anything special to do with this. The Supreme Court of the United States decided in 2023 to allow approve from a legal perspective, the extradition. And I think that all was in process long before Trump had anything to do with it. However, terrorism is an easy win for India and the United States in cooperation. Our objectives are just about identical. And whether a terrorist is in an American prison or an Indian one, from a counterterrorism official's perspective, doesn't really matter too much. So the symbolism, I think, is significant. I don't mean to dismiss that, but a fundamental shift coming because of the Trump administration, I would say not. It's an easy symbolic way to demonstrate a desire to work closely together.
And Glenn, where do you think that is now going to take the two countries forward? Because, at the end of the day, to fight and to beat terrorism, you need to have robust intel sharing platforms and mechanisms.
Yeah, two things on that. The intelligence cooperation has been for many years, back when I was working even between India and the United States on terrorist issues, pretty good. That will go on behind the scenes, independent in most instances, independent of political considerations. However, under the Trump administration, Trump is clearly, although in a formal sense he will deny it, the administration will deny it, is more hostile to Islam than Biden was. Biden was not hostile to Islam. And so it's an easy thing for Trump to do to give the appearance of, or perhaps some reality to closer Indian-U.S. cooperation. Extraditing a terrorist who everyone wants to see behind bars is not really, except from a legal perspective perhaps, a difficult way to show cooperation. The intelligence cooperation has been going on. I don't anticipate
it has been. There were reports that some of this planning actually started from 2001, and these mechanisms of intel sharing have been around for more than 2 decades. Ankur, let me ask you this, that as things stand right now, I come back to the point that you'd earlier made, which is that this is an important step, this is an important development, but still it's a step. Or do you think we are close to ensuring that full justice is finally given to 2611 victims and survivors like yourself?
Well, it's definitely a significant step for sure, that, it's moving towards the right direction. But saying that, full justice has already been done is something which I'm not, sort of very much convinced with as of now. I feel there is enough and more, that has to come out as well. There are more people, and there is more information to be taken off. So to answer your question, I think it is still a step towards the right direction and a significant one. But full disclosure, I'm not too sure right now.
Okay, that's on that note, I'm going to end this. Thank you so much, Glenn and Arun, for really sharing your thoughts there. Bottom line, viewers, is that at the end of the day, 26/11 happened. The dastardly attack happened in 2008. 16 years later, 2 governments later, finally Tahawwur Rana is going to be in India soon. Remember, the charge sheet happened in 2011. It's been 14 years since then. Many legal steps India had to cross for this moment to finally come. But it sends a message. It sends a message to all anti-India elements in the US, elsewhere, that when it comes to ensuring justice for terrorism-related activities, India will not stop. And secondly, it also sets a template that going forward, it will crack down on terrorism that much more strongly. And I feel that going forward, the intel framework between India and the US will be far more robust, far more efficient, and able to handle any such possible attacks going forward.